It is March the 21st, and it is a very important day for all Africa-loving people throughout the world who were resident at Sharpeville then. I was 7 years old then, resident at Sharpeville, and right now at 73, I am resident at a nearby place in Vereeniging, in the Vereeniging region, and also nearby the old top location that was established before Sharpeville, and people were forcefully removed to Sharpeville. Now, on this day, I was 7 years old, and I was walking about, roaming around the marketplace that is next to Vergenoeg and Reistien and Ditensing. I don't know what the geography is like now. And as I was walking around there was a lone plane circling around Sharpeville at about 10 o'clock. And it was not forecast like it is today. And on the other hand, my 13-year-old elder brother, Billy Boy, was also trying to get to the police station. I think he was somewhere at Sobuza Street when Tate Malefetse, whom we used to call the mechanic, walloped him to go back home, that this is not a matter of children. And so all that comes back to memory. And the lone plane also that was there and that looked innocent. And where in this place where I'm resident, two white friends were together with me on the stoop, and they saw a cockroach, and they went out. They moved very, very warlike towards the cockroach to crush it, and they were both encircling it, and I thought they were looking for a rat or something. I said, "Hey, what is it that you guys are chasing?" They said, "It's a cockroach." Then I remembered that also my closest friend here also, when we are together, when he sees a cockroach, he says, "Paul, shoot it," And with my background having come from the township, would never be bothered by a single cockroach. I mean, really, we were almost in a semi-poverty situation, so to say. It was not abject poverty as such, and we never would try to. I think our parents destroyed in their own ways cockroaches, but I don't remember us bothering about what one lone cockroach taking a stroll on the stoop. And incidentally, it happens on this day. And and I want to say again, this event of Sharpeville shootings was organized by a lone family of Philemon Solo, whose sons Job, Gideon, and Yakani were behind it all. And they were strategists, chairperson of the meeting, activist, the one who runs around, whom was Nyakani, who was both organizer and, organizer on the ground, and in many ways. And also at Everton, this was being planned by Potlako Leballo with the likes of Vusimake, David Sibeko, Joe Mulifi, and others. But it never made a splash, the one at Everton, like this one at Sharpeville, like all others around the country, never made a splash. In Alexandra Township, Mazunya had said he won't join Sobukwe in Orlando from Alexandra Township because he section wanted the passes to be banned, more revolutionary than Sobukwe, who also tried who also gathered just a few men who were brave enough, and a lot of people went to work and marched to Orlando Police Station to hand over their passbooks. At Sharpeville, they were saying, no, we don't hand them over, we don't ban them, we leave them at home. But can you imagine? It was going to be so easy if you handed over your passes to be traced back to your residential address and be arrested. And there was a lot of confusion in that regard, despite the magnificence of the personalities of Sobukwe and others. Now, this one made a splash because of an organization by three brothers, Job, Gideon, and Nyakane. And history must know that. Single family who were also traumatized by the brutal killing in the streets of Sharpeville of their two elder brothers earlier in life. And they did this. I remember in the morning my brother and I, Edwin Comey, we were cleaning the stoop, our front stoop, and Ndate Mokele was walking around, going house to house, and it was very clear that even at 7, I knew we were not organized. There was nobody who came to organize people in my street. Simply because my father was an advisory board member. So I don't think in Kodisan Street at Vergenoeg and in Vugusenzele, Dabula's Street, where Dabula resided, where Ramokhosi resided, any organization was done, because this was very stealthily done, very skillfully done. They would not alert people who were closer to the Labus Kachne and Ferreira's office at Sharpeville. They would never have made that mistake, and that's why this was a success, because it was well organized. Now there are too many factions. Today, during the week, I heard that there will be two factions of the PAC at Sharpeville today, and it is really depressing. When will people find unity? Are they going to gang around one cockroach which is dividing them and try to crush one cockroach that is dividing them? I don't want to name that cockroach because it is in my imagination now that was inspired by the cockroach that was being attacked here. Now, tomorrow, the ANC has hijacked the churches again like they did in the times of Thabo Mbeki. They are having their own prayer meetings tomorrow for Sharpeville. The churches will be marching with the ANC to resuscitate it from its deathbed. And this is all crazy and silly, and people's minds are being played a real fool all the way, an abject fool for that matter. And this is it. We are not yet united at Sharpeville because of all these political parties and factions. I remember that Thabo Mbeki destroyed the South African Council of Churches by inviting the so-called church leaders to Mahlava and Ndlovu for breakfast every other quarter or so, or even a fortnight, so that he can crush the South African Council of Churches. That is one of his strategies, because he knew that the SACC, if it remains alive, it would have given him trouble during those days when corruption was still called gravy train. It was still called the softer word, gravy train. And we didn't know what was coming up until the Madanga Commission is beginning to crush even those that we never suspected of having been so corrupt. Uh, the viper's blood who came out of the gravy train. And then before I fold, I remember Gwen Mahlangu, when she was Speaker of Parliament around 2007, invited me, John Mutupin, Zeph Mutupin's son, and Sam Noche, who was Mutupin's manager, and his wife. We went to Parliament to one of the early Women's Day, a dinner held in the precinct of Parliament, right there, just in the hallways around the main house, and it was grand. But when we landed there were only two men from ANC. One prominent one was Ndate Mlangeni. He was accompanied by some fellow that I would describe as a more of an apparatchik of the ANC, and a Tsotsi-like person who always behaved like a Tsotsi, of course. They gave us bad looks. They never came to shake our hands. They never came to greet us. But Gwen Mahlangu was so queenly that he invited us. And people like Sophie de Bruyn came and embraced us, and others, as with the son of a PAC leader. And later on, you would hear Ndate Mlangeni going on radio in later years after that, trying to show you that Sharpeville Day was hijacked from an ANC program as an old dead story. Everybody had to have a program. I don't believe in dead old stories. So I, even if I'm beginning to use strong words now, we wish we could find unity, even if this unity will not be under the umbrella of this thing called democracy, of a more refined system of governance than what you call democracy today. In Namibia, I went to Namibia around 1993, sent there by the South African Council of Churches. We met there with people like Bani Pichana and others and so on. That is a name that I remember then. And when there was a person from Kenya who was emphasizing the fact that Africa has to model its own kind of governance and not necessarily call it democracy. Because a lot of people do a lot of silly things in the name of democracy. They poison the nation, they kill the nation. They will even have the guts to say you have a right to take drugs if it's democracy. Can you imagine? And then they call everybody and his friend my leader. Uh, when Mbeki had called everybody the colonial imperial title, chief. Today, I cannot go to those gatherings at all, not at all, because somebody will make a mistake of calling me my leader, and I will throw up. I don't want to go and throw up in their faces. You cannot dupe people and make them zombies by calling them my leader. Rubbish. I'm not going to be in any of those gatherings, not one. Thank you.